Let's play it for 45 seconds and then get your response, Tucker Carlson.
Apology tour, if you will. That this had been said online. There was all of the criticism. There was advertisers leaving. We talked to Bob Iger today.
I hope they stop.
You hope?
Don't advertise.
You don't want them to advertise?
No.
What do you mean?
If somebody's going to try to blackmail me with advertising, blackmail me with money, go fuck yourself.
But
go fuck yourself. Is that clear? I hope it is. Hey, Bob, if you're in the audience.
well, let me ask you then.
That's how I feel.
All right, Tucker, your response to the good for you, the old GFY.
I mean, I've interviewed people every week for over 30 years, and so I know what it is to interview. I just dropped my Perrier, excuse me. And I know I have a lot of experience interviewing people, and I've interviewed Elon, and I don't understand how the New York Times character, fussy little guy from the New York Times, how could you not laugh? Like, what? He just told Bob Iger to fuck himself.
He's a terrible moderator. Don't get me started. You and I are in sync. Andrew Sorkin is amongst the weakest of moderators and interviewers.
But he's just what a fussy little douche. Like, that's the moment when you just
huge douche.
You erupt.
Say more,
total
Tucker.
Like, are you joking? Elon Musk just told Bob Iger to fuck himself? Like,
yes.
I'd be texting my wife.
Response.
It's
He's a robot.
I know. No, of course I love it. I am in the Iger thing. I don't hate Bob Iger or anything, but like I keep hearing from people, mutual people I know who know Bob Iger very well, that he's like very serious about running for president. And it's like, if you really think if you're Bob Iger, you can run for president, that you have anything to offer people or they want you to be president, like you're pretty out of touch. So I like that. But, big picture, I'm really, and I'm not just saying this because it aligns with my interests of some kind. I mean it. I'm worried about the pressure that's being brought to bear on that platform, on this platform, on X, because it's the only one, the only big one, huge one, international one, tens of millions of people, hundreds of millions of people. Like, they have to, they meaning the people who would like to maintain the status quo, kind of have to shut it down. And I am just so hoping that, I can help in any way, and that all decent people, whatever their views, add their voice to a chorus that says, no, you can't shut down the one big free speech platform in the world. You can't do that, because then it's just dictatorship. You're not free if you don't have free information, and you can't say what you really think.
You were subject to a lot of these advertising attacks. They went after Fox and your show specifically, and it worked. They got people to not advertise on your show.
Yeah.
So these advertising boycotts do work. Media Matters, whatever, whoever's doing them. So I'm curious what you see the business model being for your show, and then how you hope to be resistant to it. Are you going to just go straight up subscription and hope that half your audience or 10% of your audience pays, and you put half out for free, half out for sub? What are you thinking?
You got to have a subscription component to it. And of course, we're selling ads against our content, and we'll be doing that on X and on tuckercarlson.com, where we'll be hosting the subscription part of it. Of course, we're selling ads. We'll have network ads too. I mean, there are lots of different things you can do. But in the end, you have to have some subscription component if you're going to do it at scale. I mean, we brought our whole staff, almost our whole staff from Fox with us. So we got a bunch of people. We've got, bigger ambitions than have been on display so far. And we, you got to have more information. And I would just say this about just having been in this one business my whole life, the range of stories is the problem. It's not that the stories are all totally dishonest. Some are dishonest, but some are not. They're technically true, but they're taken from such a small pot of stories that it's like, it's crazy. There's all this stuff going on, and it's just not, I was completely obsessed and remain obsessed with the industrial sabotage of the Nord Stream pipeline. It's like that's a major historical event. Like you just ended the EU. You just hobbled the economic engine of Europe, which is Germany. And like, who did that? And there were like very few stories on that. That's like a very big deal. And again, back to the curiosity thing, but it's more than that. It's like people sort of know where not to go. And I just feel like first of all, that's soul death. You're not a free man if you're that constrained in your thinking, if you're letting somebody else tell you what you're allowed to think, how can your wife even sleep with you at that point? No one can respect you if you live like that. A. B, you can't have a democracy. You can't have a free country under those circumstances. So, and I don't think I'm overstating it. And so we're going to try to, I hope, be one of many different similar efforts to just add to the sum total of information and analysis of that information.
Maybe you could speak to what you think the impact of a post-Fox Tucker Carlson show will be, and how will you be able to sort of shape the show differently, if at all? And what's the mission here? That was just my first question we never really got to, which is post-Fox, post-money, post-fame. What is Tucker Carlson's mission statement going forward? What is your goal here?
Just the same as before, and I should just be extra clear. I wish I could tell horror stories about Fox, forcing me to take some line or other, but they really didn't. But, they didn't want the show anymore, so that kind of tells you. But anyway, the point is, my intent in hosting that show is the same as my intent in hosting the show we're about to launch on X, which is, just do your best to say what you think is true, bring perspectives and information that you don't think are widely covered to a larger audience, and, try and stay firm in that. Admit when you're wrong. Like, just be honest. It's actually not, I got in this business because I hadn't graduated from college, and my father's like, it's a pretty pure meritocracy in journalism, you should do it. And it's also pretty simple. No real skills required. Just be literate, which I was.
And is the show going to evolve a little bit? Because you've been doing this experiment. You've done about 40 episodes.
Well, here's the way that it already has evolved. So I got laid off in April, and I like to fish and bird hunt. So I did a lot of that. And then I was like, I need to do something. So I've been stuck in a studio for all these many, many years. I couldn't really go anywhere. And I took 7 foreign trips in 4 months. I just went to all these places where I knew people. I was interested in what was going on. And I just found it amazing. 2 things I found amazing. One, the view of America, the vantage you get from a foreign country on what's happening in your own is completely different. There's also the whole world is reshuffling, in my view, after the Ukraine war. February 2022 really did change a lot, particularly with respect to America's place in the world. That's worth covering. And the second thing I learned once I started putting videos up on X was that it's international. I mean, I was just shocked by that. I mean, because think about it. I mean, I'm working for a U.S. news channel. It's one of 3 U.S. news channels I've worked for. CNN was international, but I was on CNN U.S. So I'm just used to thinking about America, being viewed by Americans, having a conversation about this country. I had no experience at all of a big international audience, and that platform has that. And so I was amazed by that. And so we're going to continue to cover the rest of the world. I'm going over to Dubai in February and interviewing a bunch of
I've been spending time.
Heads of state over.
Wild,
it's just so interesting. There's so much going on. It's like crazy. People, and this is not a political point. This is like a human point that bothers me almost more than anything politically, which is the death of curiosity. It's like people are not curious. Like, what the hell? I thought the technological revolution would set off like explosions in the brain of every person. Like, what is that? I want to learn more. And it had exactly the opposite. It's like, lull me to sleep with TikTok. Don't tell me more. I don't want to know.
Just double down on what you already know, what you already believe,
over
and over again.
I know I'm less certain in my beliefs. I know that I know less than any time in my life, and I'm much more interested in many more things than I've ever been. I think that's normal. And I think there's something like in the water or something that's making people not care. The UFO thing. Like, what? Whatever your views of that, like, well, what is that? Shut up. And that's normal. People don't want to hear it. Why? I don't know, whatever.
Younger people say the news is full of lies.
In Kennedy's motorcade.
239 people. The death of Jeffrey Epstein.